Welcome back, everyone. Time to gather the CEO's imperative, if I may put it that way, because it's time to reimagine the ESGs. In fact, joining us while we talk about the ESG and the strategies, we've got some powerhouse of speakers joining us back again, some of them joining us back again, in fact. And let's quickly gather their insights on this very, very relevant topic. In fact, we have with us Deepali Goenka, CEO and Joint Managing Director, Welspun India Limited. We once again have with us Sindhu Gangadharan, Senior Vice President and Managing Director, SAP Labs India. And we're also once again joined by none other than Professor Utkarsh Majmudar, who's a member of Board of Governors, IIM Raipur. Now, spearheading this entire discussion for all of us, once again, we have with us Namrata Rana, Director, Strategy and Brand, Futurescape, India Ambassador of University of Cambridge Institute for Sustainability Leadership. And it'll be very interesting to actually have both of them, both Namrata and Professor Utkarsh join in to gather insights from our speakers as well. It's something that we've all been looking forward to. And let me also inform you all that we're also looking forward to the book launch over here. All the details coming for all of you in between the session. So with that, let me hand over the proceedings to Namrata and to Professor Utkarsh. And we get the session started right here, right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here today, especially on the occasion of the launch of our second book, Shift. Shift is really about the transitions towards a zero carbon green economy. And it's based on our study of India's top 200 companies over the last 8 years, where we've been going and studying and analyzing organizations in terms of what they have been doing in terms of the environmental, social, and governance issues. And I'm joined here by a powerhouse of speakers, particularly Deepali, who's been a mentor and a guide for so many years. And I've really looked up to her in terms of the work that she's been doing in sustainability. And of course, Sindhu Gangadharan from SAP, and 85% of the world's largest organizations who are, some of the largest emitters in the world actually use SAP. And SAP can be a huge enabler in transformation and in enabling the change. And of course, I have with me Professor Utkarsh Majmudar, who has been, roped in by all kinds of measures to actually help in the documentation of this entire journey. First, with all the studies that we do, the case studies that we write, the book one, which was called Balance, and book 2 now, which is Shift. And I want to actually ask Professor Utkarsh, what do you see as one of the most important things in terms of the transition? You teach finance. Is that an important thing for the transformation towards a net zero world?
Okay, so let's look at what we are talking about when we look at when we talk about the net zero world. So one of the things that is important is that that companies, factories, they need to emit less. Right? All sort of things that are involved here. But if you look at it very closely, what happens is you need to shift, and that's where the title of the book comes from. You need to shift from an environment where we are emitting like anything to where we don't emit anything. Like not emitting anything is an ultimate goal. So what we need to do is to focus on making this change or this shift, and this shift can come only from the money that you need for this. You can't do it without money, right? Now, money comes from many sources. And what has unfortunately happened is many of the governments have been in deficits and they've not been able to provide enough financing for this shift to happen. The private sector has had its own problems. The money ESG investing has come up in a big way, but that is more to do with the secondary market, the primary market where the money is really needed. And I think the shift will require a shift in the investor base where money really comes from the private sector and the private markets.
Very true, Utkarsh. And I want to ask Dipali, because as Wellspun and whatever we know of it, we've covered Wellspun in the book in one of the chapters in a lot of detail. And Wellspun was one of the pioneering organizations which took this decision to make this kind of an investment many years back. Dipali, what led to this, and what do you feel are the important things that your sector and your industry need to do to mitigate emissions?
So I think, Namrata, first of all, textile is the biggest polluter after oil. And 10% of the emissions, I mean, the greenhouse emissions come in from the fashion industry and textile industry. So, of course, that came into our perspective at Wellspun. The reason, I mean, if you look at cotton again is not sustainable if you look at it. Or, the landfills that, I mean, we would have all heard about. So I think the focus for, at Wellspun, and we have taken this actually responsibility to lead by an example. So whether it is a program like the Velkrishi program, which grows sustainable farm, which does sustainable farming, that is something that we are working through. We are looking at products which consume less water. Our whole water stewardship that we are leading with, where just recycling water is being used. So I think there are a lot of things that, Namrata, we have taken up here, which actually we want to really set an example and goals. The low carbon emission, I mean, is going to be a very important integral part for the industry going forward. At Wellspun, we are actually basically looking at being evaluated by a SOPI software about, with any product that we use. Any product, how much water does it consume? How much steam does it consume? So looking at the utilities, can we better our consumption of utilities? And that is going to be key. Now, we work with various vendors across the globe. How do we reduce that? How do we make, so we have an ancillary park, which is just next doors. How we can, work that out far more effectively is very, very important. So I think every step counts. For us, the whole blockchain came into prominence at Wellspun India because of this, where we can trace back to the source of cotton, and now to the whole, the whole dyes and chemicals, our vendors. So everything can be, looked at completely virtually and physically as well. So I think, Namrata, for us at Wellspun, the important part is we want to lead by example as industry leaders in textiles, and where we employ around 20,000 people, and textile is the biggest employer, biggest consumer of crops, water, and of course the emissions, the green emissions. I think it is critical that we all work towards that goal.
Thank you so much, Dipali. I want to now invite Sindhu to tell us a little bit about how technology can help scale the transition. And to me, sustainability is really about scale. So while many organizations have really looked at sustainability in fundamentally different ways, the important thing is how do we actually scale that, and with the kind of speed that we need now.
Absolutely, Namrata, and I think it was great to just hear Dipali give a real life example of how technology is being used in her industry, right? And I think all of us on this call would agree that sustainability is no longer an optional aspect for a business, right? But it's become key to the long-term success pretty much of any business in any industry. And more businesses, I mean, over the last decade, right, they're clearly seeing sustainability as a central dimension of corporate decision making, just like we were looking at cost or just like we were looking at growth. And you're absolutely right. Technology has indeed a very crucial role to play in supporting businesses and really also enabling businesses to become sustainable enterprises. And Namrata, at the beginning, you mentioned 85% of the largest carbon emission intensive companies are using SAP to manage their end-to-end business processes. Now, this is great, and it also gives us an incredible opportunity for us to contribute to the global climate change movement in a very impactful way. Now, it starts also with this fundamental integration of what does it mean, right? What is the sustainability data that is interesting depending on the industry, depending on the business processes, and this goes across, right? Goes across value chains because you're touching so many different the smaller entities as we speak. So really, irrespective of the industry, digital technologies can clearly help reduce huge amounts of greenhouse gas emissions and also natural resource consumption. Now, to give you an example, Namrata, we at SAP, we recently launched our product called Product Footprint Management, which is really about empowering businesses to calculate that carbon footprint for all their products through their entire life cycle, right? And this what it does is it basically is empowering businesses to systematically monitor and control those greenhouse gas emissions through that end-to-end process. And it also gives you that data transparency on your environmental footprint and also enables businesses to make those very informed decisions in real time. I can give you another example of Everloop, which is a startup that we are funding here at SAP that's about empowering businesses to achieve zero waste by being a sustainability solution that's connecting the stakeholders across the waste value chain and to support the circular economy with everything around transparency, but also traceability, like what Deepali was talking about earlier on, right? And again, these are just few examples, but there are so many other technology solutions which clearly enable organizations to increase their resource productivity through circular processes, help them run safer, help them really in ensuring that they are running their processes in a sustainable manner. But at the same time, having those very specific industry driven insights that combine their operational as well as their financial data across value chains. And clearly, it's not that one single company can develop all the solutions and all the technologies. It's clearly the need of the hour that businesses across all sectors are coming together, pursue those joint opportunities to progress with all efforts on decarbonization goals. But and really, it's about building those technology solutions that allow for tracking, allow for management across operations, across supply chains, within products, even into, I would say, even into your employee activities. So clearly, sustainability goals are very important for businesses as compared to their financial goals. In fact, we are talking about not just looking at top line and bottom line, but introducing what we call as a green line based on which you drive decisions, and technology becomes a very important enabler for that.
I love the concept of the green line. I think it's really fabulous and so very critical, and especially now because at the global pandemic and the fragility of the economic system has taken a sheen of capitalism to some extent. The perpetually growing economy to one extent on which our financial system rests has come into conflict with the finite biosphere that we live in. This is imposing limits for finance, how we live our lives. The challenges to accelerating climate change, biodiversity loss, collapsing ecosystems are here now. They're not any time in the future. We are actually seeing this happen. So the book that we've written, which is Shift, Decisions for the Net Zero World, focuses on the transition that companies need to make towards a net zero and circular economy without leaving anybody behind. Because we actually need to create an inclusive world. And that is when the net zero shift will actually get people behind it. We can't really do the energy transition. We can't do any of the transitions that are necessary without taking everybody along. So the role of the financial markets, skilling everybody, making people understand why behavior change is critical, managing the big shifts in circularity, agriculture, water, those are the changes and the transformations that are actually needed. And more than that, this is also the decade about building trust. In recent years, there's been a lack of trust in institutions. People no longer trust brands. People no longer trust information that is actually shared with them. So sustainability has to be about a deeper transition, a deeper shift. And in the book, we actually call it shift thinking. So where you are actually saying that your mental models that actually talk about utilization of resources, a wasteful lifestyle, excessive production and consumption, and then overall waste have to be curtailed. And this shift thinking is really what we want to focus on. My last question to all the three panelists would be, what are the top 3 things that you think are important to enable the shift? Utkarsh, would you like to go first? Utkarsh, you're on mute.
Yeah. So I think what happens is this whole business of how do we shift has to do with thinking. And we are trained to think in a particular way. We are trained to think in a linear fashion. We are trained to think logically. I think the old mental models have to go away. Right? Things are changing dramatically. If I have to foresee future, so for example, what Dipali and Sindhu are talking about, how they are changing their organizations, it requires a completely different way of thinking. That the idea of a green line is a completely different way of thinking about business. Right? So this is where really the change comes from. To my mind, it's a shift in the way you think. At one point in time, people said that if trains were to run beyond a certain speed, everyone will be blown away and trains can't run at high speeds. We now have high-speed rail. Right? Now, so ability to think through about the future, see how sustainability is going to be absolutely critical. And if you look at the IPCC report that came out recently, it just paints such a terrible picture of the earth that we are going to live in. So obviously, you need to change your mental models, right? And we have to start thinking about a completely different way of thinking, a completely different way of envisioning the future and seeing how the world is going to be and how do we want our organizations to be in that space. You may end up being the best producer of cotton textile, for example, but you will not survive if you're not sustainable.
Thank you, Utkarsh. Dipali, over to you. So what keeps you up at night in terms of sustainability, and what do you think needs to change?
Namrata, I think I take from, what are the 3 important things that I would do and what I'm doing right now and where it begins from. I think because that's where it will make an impact. All of us at Welspun India, our whole, our KPIs and our performance matrix is measured, and we have a 20% weightage to the ESG goals for all the leadership teams that we have. So it begins from there. Along with that, very interestingly, we have a program called Manthan. It is an innovative program on a floors for our blue-collar associates. They put in, all their suggestions that they have on the shop floor, and that comes in, and that we really, work towards. And employee training, the awareness, I think that is important. Then comes the partners, Namrata, and that's where it has begun for us. Partners or communities, a program called Spun, which you already know about, where we are upcycling 2 tons of rags, and the women not only make beautiful handicrafted rugs and carpets out of it, but also our, their livelihoods are being taken care of. Then our partners, our vendor partners, our ancillary partners, farmers for the best practices. We have AI tools for the farmers, so they can, that enables them to see what is the water they're looking at, the consumption, or how the rain is going to be, how the monsoons are going to be. The ancillary vendors, like, what could be the carbon footprints that they can look at? What are the kind of partnerships that Welspun can work with, where we can, have zero waste, lesser water consumption, or lesser utilities or steam. And of course, technology. I think the important thing is to have data. And I think to Sindhu there, I think the important thing is the thread of technology across. Even when we talk about, and with Wellspun and with textiles, our supply chain spans across the globe. How are we going to measure everything? Our carbon emissions, the water consumption, everything, or the landfills. So I think there's a whole lot of technology that is responsible. And of course, and hence we took on the blockchain and the measurement indexes as well. So Namrata, for me and for us at Wellspun, the whole thing of the planet Earth, because this is we owe that to our planet. We are accountable for it. It keeps us sleepless, but I think we will have to find the solutions, and we are working towards that.
Thank you so much, Dipali. It's fascinating to hear your journey and all the changes that you've made at Wellspun and the things that you're pioneering. Sindhu, over to you. What do you think are the top things that your organization needs to do internally, as well as your clients need to do to actually enable the net zero shift?
Yeah, I think, Namrata, advancing towards a net zero emissions future is, I think, clearly one of the biggest challenges that we are facing as a humanity, right? And the clock is ticking really fast. And it's not just about this one major shift, but it's like really making those small yet very consistent changes that create that very lasting and very impactful kind of change, right? And if you ask me three things, I'd say first and foremost, it's important that we remember that every change begins at home, right? So organizations, no matter how large or how small, have a very significant role to play to have a much more sustainable and a much more cleaner world. And if I just reflect upon SAP again, for us, it's super important that we enable our 500,000 customers across the world to become sustainable enterprises with the use of technology, right? And we ourselves are committed to become carbon neutral in all our operations by 2023. And we use this approach, what I also mentioned earlier, of first of all, avoiding. Second, it's about reducing. And third, compensating for our emissions. Now, if I just look at it in the context of how we run operations on the ground, and I'm responsible for Labs India, which is our second largest R&D hub outside our headquarters in Waldorf, 95% of the total energy that's consumed in our Labs Bangalore campus is being driven by various green energy sources, Namrata. We're also proud that 70% of our transport operations is run by electric vehicles, right? And we have in-house charging stations on our campus. Our campus is also free of single-use plastic, which all of us know on this call that is one of the largest contributors to plastic waste being dumped into our oceans. So that's the first thing. Every change starts at home, right? The second thing I'd say is we're not alone in this, right? No company or country will be able to solve this alone. We have to come together. So industries, governments, customers, technologies, we really need technology companies, we need to work together to find those ways to tackle carbon emissions, right? And it's also great. I mean, this is a perfect day today where we are seeing stakeholders across the world clearly seeing sustainability goals on par with their financial goals. And the third point I'd like to say, which is also what we talked about earlier, is the power of technology. How do we leverage technology to come together to jointly drive that decarbonization across value chains, across industries, in order to create a truly sustainable world? Because when you look at circular business models, we reuse everything, right? So technologies, be it IoT, cloud, blockchain, analytics, can clearly enable the environment in a sustainable approach and clearly also cut waste to near zero. So I'd say these are the three things that's on top of my mind, Namrata.
Thank you so much, Sindhu. So to everybody who's listening in, this is what our book looks like. And you're most welcome to pick it up online and in bookstores. It features pioneering work of top Indian companies. It also has a lot of work around technology that organizations are doing, and some of the work around that SAP is doing with its clients as well. And I'd just like to end with what Sindhu said, that, you know, the fight for one's survival is the fight for everyone. It's all about collaboration. The world economies are interconnected, so are our lives. Hence, leadership for the 21st century has to be about trusteeship, public good, and equity. And, you know, in the US, Prime Minister Modi also talked about trusteeship in the context of climate change. That's all we are. We are trustees to the earth, and that's what we need to actually be conscious about. And that means having a moral code. The pushes and pulls that are there in the commercial ecosystem will continue to exist. But if we have to make a transition, we have to look deeper, and that's really what the book is about. Thank you so very much for your time, Dipali, Sindhu, Utkarsh, and Economic Times. Thank you for helping us get together on this topic.
Thank you. Thanks so much.